This week on Rockstar Superhero. Dark and brooding. Words that are overused. It must get tiresome, especially when you're a very talented person and you're constantly aligned or misaligned with everyone else in a certain genre. My conversation with James Hammontree of Oklahoma City's Black Magnet was a real treat, mostly because the man is a reality check, charging straight into the blind eye of an industrial metal storm cell. Black Magnet's new release, Body Prophecy, is a squirmy, dark-hearted mind melt that pushes the listener through a death metal rust-tinged trapdoor straight into an old-school belt sander. It screams the best parts of yesterday with the modern levels and ferocity of today's angst and hopelessness. To me, it's brilliant, mostly because the man who created it is so relentlessly in the pursuit of the truthful human experience, whatever that is. I hope you enjoy my blast of a conversation with James Hammontree of Black Magnet, because I sure did. This is Rob Leland, and this is Rockstar Superhero. You're stepping off into a brave new world, and I'm just really stoked that you're here and might want to share a bit about the album with us.
Yeah, thank you, man. I appreciate it. Yeah, it was definitely like starting the band was definitely like a direct choice to want to do the kind of music that I'm into, you know. Right. Yeah, I guess I kind of felt like that there wasn't just, I mean, there's a ton of industrial, obviously, but I don't know. There just wasn't like a ton of it that was like outside of like this cyber goth techno world, if you will, you know. Right. I don't know, you know, and a lot of it, I feel like there just wasn't a lot of guitar in a ton of it either. So, or a ton of the newer stuff. And that's not to say that there isn't at all. Just, I don't know. I felt like I could do stuff with guitar with that too.
Yeah. Yeah. What I dug about it, and it really registered with me almost instantly, was that it's actually a very progressive record. That there's a lot of ideas happening. It's not just, just like a dance floor take on industrial. Right. If that makes sense.
Totally. Yeah. I mean, that, you know, I'm influenced, of course, by tons of different bands, all different types of music, whatever. And I felt like, I don't know, more than anything, I just like really like the like sonic platform of industrial music. Right. Like as far as like drum machines, heavy distorted bass synths, high arpeggiated synths, like, you know, super tinny metal scooped guitars. And yeah. I felt like you could play any type of song in that, like with that palette, I guess, you know. Yeah. Like yeah. you can do so much, because I mean, a good song is a good song no matter what instrument it's played on, where it's played, how it's played, whatever. And that was another thing with like a lot of industrials. There's just not like a ton of incredible songwriting, like focus on songwriting. It's a lot more like focus on technique, focus on sound, focus on palette, soundscape, which is awesome. And that's what I love about it. But right. Yeah, I guess that's something I was thinking about, you know, trying to write better songs, but just using the sound of industrial stuff.
For sure. Well, there is I don't want to say it's an obvious trope, but the use of filters is kind of a big deal.
Oh, for sure. And I mean, it's like all that stuff's out there, so how could you not use it? Like, you know?
Right. Yeah. Right. Yeah. Why not use it to widen the palette versus keep it focused in this sort of singular way? What I like is that it's open to interpretation. Yeah. And yeah, you can, and live. I mean, look, I'm not a DJ. I'm not suggesting you can just do this live, but let's say you had the right gear, you know, outboard gear, that live in a performance, if it was just you, and I don't think you do that, right. But if it was just you, you could quite literally DJ the music and just toss new filters on and play with it, play with the drops, play with the heaviness, etc.
That's honestly part of the plan. So I actually used to play solo, and I would play guitar and sing and play synthesizer, kind of like rotating through it with backing tracks. Nice. And I mean, that was like kind of the first year of the band. I probably did 10 shows that way at max. But yeah, I have another live. I play guitar and sing live. I have another guitar player, and then I have a synth player. And then we play with some backing tracks as is, but the goal is to like kind of start minimizing the backing tracks aside from the drums, and really kind of start performing more, like dumping stuff in and out and doing more of that stuff that you kind of described. So yeah, I want to make it definitely, less based on the backing tracks and more, like more performing the electronic side of it. Yeah.
Sure. It's funny because I obviously can get an idea of what you're talking about, and this isn't some like old guy get off my lawn approach, but like my generation, I know I'm a lot older than you, and my generation like literally just doesn't understand technology in so many ways, right? We use it, but it's because what's been made for us, whether it's social media or songwriting things, programs, they're made to be pretty idiot proof. You know what I mean? Where something complex like what you're doing requires a lot of skill and determination to make it special. So I just appreciate it, man. I just appreciate what you're doing.
It took a long time. I mean, I've been messing with drum machines since I was 22 or 23, that kind of thing. But I mean, and I feel like I scratched the surface compared to like a lot of my engineer friends like that just blow my mind like nonstop. And so it's a rabbit hole that never stops, it seems like.
Well, I think that's the best part, the best part about music or just the creative process. And I'm a drummer, a musician, lifelong musician. So I don't want to sit here and go like, I don't know what I'm talking about. I have a pretty good idea. But yeah, something about that process that's always malleable, that there's always a new way to approach something, that we don't have to just go with what's been done. Right. Or to even reinvent something that's been done. We can completely change. This sounds so cheesy.
Oh, it's all right.
but we can completely change the entire approach.
For sure.
What you're doing, you're taking an old, like I said, these old sort of tropes, and you're sort of tweaking them and turning them into a new thing. Jørgen Munkeby from Shining in Norway did the same thing back in 2008, 2009 with black jazz. He started this new thing. And I like that you guys are forcefully evolving the space.
Yeah, definitely. And I mean, and the record that just came out was recorded 2 years ago.
Oh my God.
Yeah, it was recorded August of 2020. And so the first two, that record and the one before and the demo, I recorded by myself. I did all the instruments and everything. But since then, 2 years ago, we've been writing as a 3-piece now. So it's like even more so. We have like 14 new songs we're going to record in January. So it's like expanding like way more, even more so, writing as a 3-piece now. So
gotcha. So this isn't just like a you and 2 studio musicians thing. This is an actual band.
As of the past year and a half, maybe probably since like basically before COVID, I had like a month-long US tour booked that got canceled. Mm-hmm. And these 2 guys are going to be my live musicians, right? And so during COVID, we kind of like, everyone was deciding who they're going to hang out with and who's not going to, whatever. So we decided to kind of like hunker down and just start like writing as a 3-piece pretty much. And for the past, I'd say 2 years, we've been they've officially been in the band, I guess.
Yeah. Wow. Oh, cool. This is kind of a simple question, but why did Black Magnet have to happen? What was there? Always has to be an inspirational moment or something that just nudges you and makes you go, here's a good idea. So I'm curious, what was that inspiration for you?
I'm trying to think. So before I did Black Magnet, I was doing a solo project that was more kind of new wave. It sounded more like Depeche Mode or the Smiths or Modern English, something like that. And it was really just kind of like, I was like writing this stuff, and my friends like who owned a bar would always ask me to play, and I was like, well, I can just get drunk for free and play this stuff, like whatever. Mm-hmm. And the more I started, and that was like when I really started getting into like, I guess, digital audio and just synthesizers and recording and hardware and software and all that. and once I started like playing with it more, I just started getting more ideas to do like darker music. I've always played in like punk, hardcore, death metal bands, that kind of thing. And I'd kind of taken a break from it to do more just kind of poppy, fun music for like a year or whatever. And yeah, so I think like getting introduced to working outside of like, you know, a regular rock band format just started like unlocking a ton of ideas. And working on with software and with drum machines and synthesizers. And I started like kind of writing in like a brand new way I never had. So I think, honestly, I think a lot of it came from working just with new tools. I would say, new approaches, like just like sitting down and writing a drum beat on a drum machine and making myself write a synthesizer line to it, and then making myself write like lyrics on top of that, when usually I would have never done that, you know, in my metal band or whatever in that same way. So yeah, and I don't know. I mean, I just always loved that kind of music anyway, and I felt like, yeah, kind of like what I said before, I felt like it wasn't like being done in the way I wanted to see it done, you know.
Sure,
like
sure.
Yeah, and there just wasn't like a lot of guitar in that stuff either. Like, I mean, yeah, there's like guitar in like Ministry and of course Godflesh and Nine Inch Nails, but like aside from that, and there's a few, it just didn't seem like, I don't know, and I just felt like people weren't like bringing in like the amount of influences into one project that I think could be brought into a singular band. It was like, this band sounds like Nine Inch Nails, this band sounds like Nitzarad, this band sounds like Godflesh, this band sounds like Swans. And this band sounds like Killing Joke, or this band's new wave, but they have someone screaming, and it's just like, you can do that all in one band. You can do it all in like,
that's right.
You know, like if you listen to all that music and like, I don't know, like respect it properly, and you say it's an influence, because people will say like, I'm influenced by this, I'm influenced by this. It's like, no, you just sound like one thing. I don't know. Yeah.
Right.
So, long answer, but
no, that's great. Yeah, I mean, when I think of like rolling drum machines, right? I'm thinking of like Frontline Assembly, Kill Switch Click, Skinny Puppy, you know, and those are seminal things. We can all agree.
Yeah.
But let's be frank, outside of 120 minutes on MTV, they really didn't get an audience because it was kind of predictable. I mean, no harm. I mean, it's amazing stuff. But after a while, like when you're on the fourth song and it's I mean, you know, it's like, okay, so are you making me into a can of tuna fish? Because like I'm tired of just that.
Right. And like, and yeah, I mean, Skinny Puppy's a good example. I mean, they're like, you know, top 10 influences, all-time favorite band, but I wouldn't, like, I don't need to remake Skinny Puppy like everyone else has. That's kind of what I felt like too. And it was like, okay, you're like ruining Skinny Puppy for me, like by just remaking it, you know. I don't know. And yeah, that was like a big thing, is just trying not to remake one band from that era, you know. So
right. You know, you're from Oklahoma, if I remember correctly. I'm not going to give your address or anything, but but yeah, okay. So I would think a guy like you is kind of famous in the area for a guy who likes to break stuff, and I put quotes around it because I can't imagine that you have a giant, dark, brooding industrial metal scene, in a town like Oklahoma City. You know, it's a shit kicking town. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So how does that happen? I mean, did you? I'm going to go to the obvious question here, but did you have a supportive family life, or were you one of those angry kids? You know, like how did it happen?
You know, I'm trying to think. I guess I started going to punk show. Well, I started skateboarding, you know, that's like story with everyone, right?
Sure.
I started skateboarding when I was like, you know, 11 or 12, getting really, really into it. Obviously was hearing awesome music on skate videos, got into Black Flag. That led into getting into metal, into more weird stuff, you know. And my parents were religious. I grew up, I lived in like a really shitty part of town. And so my mom was either saying, you got to go to Christian school or be homeschooled. So I chose to be homeschooled because they wouldn't send me to public school. And they were like really supportive of art and music in general, though they were like pretty religious.
Your parents, you mean, or the school?
Yeah, my parents.
Oh,
So,
okay.
Yeah, that probably wasn't very clear. So I was able to, like, I guess from skate videos, kind of get into music. And I mean, I had to do my schoolwork being homeschooled, but I ended up having a lot of free time. So I just taught myself bass, taught myself guitar.
Cool.
My dad was a little bit into metal, so I was hearing like Pantera and Metallica and like that kind of stuff. So,
Sure.
Yeah, I mean, there's definitely like a lot of like, rebellious, isolated, doing bad shit, doing bad stuff with my friends. But
yeah, you're the evil local influencer.
yeah. But I'm sorry, what was the question again? Growing up, getting
I was just wondering how much of like, family influences or sort of chaotic moments in life. So
yeah.
Like every musician I know who's sort of worth their salt, and comedians as well.
Yeah.
They tend to have, and I'm not accusing anything here, but they tend to have sort of rough childhoods, or they have something where there's dissonance at home, maybe not getting along with the parent. And I mean, I kind of get a feel for what you were saying, because you were saying, you sort of grew up in this household where your family was fairly religious.
Yeah.
And you probably felt there was some dissonance there. I was just curious what charged you to go in this direction, because it seems like an angry direction, if that makes sense.
I would definitely say, it's definitely kind of rebelling against church and Christianity and that kind of a thing. And my mom's an art teacher, and my dad's like, he was always kind of in like cover bands, like classic rock bands, that kind of thing. So I was always around like a good amount of art and music and stuff. But, anything with like, like Marilyn Manson, Nine Inch Nails, that shit got like pretty thrown away. So I had to like hide a lot of that stuff.
You're like, Mom, I listened to Ministry. That's a Christian thing.
Yeah, right. Yeah. And, for the most part, as long as it wasn't like directly satanic, they didn't really care. But, I was hiding Slayer, Deicide albums, Obituary albums, that kind of thing.
Deicide is like the ultimate statement against Christianity. Oh,
I feel like I didn't even like it. I just got it because it like looked crazy. Yeah, but I like it now. But yeah, I would say, and that kind of mixed with skateboarding and just like rebelling against, Oklahoma's a super conservative place, right? Mm-hmm. And, we had a really cool punk club when I was like 14 called the Green Door. It's still a venue, but it's different owners and stuff. But, I was going to shows and seeing like Agnostic Front, Casualties, Suicide Machines, just all types of punk shit. And, it was like the only place in Oklahoma City where that stuff existed. And I was just trying to figure out how to make that, like that one show I could go to a month, how to make that my entire life, And I was just like, this is everything about this is what I want to do 24/7 nonstop. And, when you're 14, 15 in Oklahoma, all you have is like a skateboard and like, like I was homeschooled too. So it was just like, I had to make friends from shows. I didn't have friends from school. I didn't, I just had like neighborhood friends kind of sort of thing. And the only place I guess I was making friends was at shows. And that kind of led me to, I don't know, like just finding my people and the type of shit I wanted to be into at an early age. And anything that like wasn't that, growing up, I just wasn't interested in, like. Yeah. And so I would say that was probably like the initial spark to like getting into like aggressive underground music for sure. And there was actually a really good record store next to that venue. And when I turned like 18, I started working there. And that was just like, it was over after that. That was all I cared about.
Yeah. It's interesting that the way you put this whole thing and how you classified it right off the top. And so this is not throwing you under the bus. I would actually like to talk about this because I'm really curious about this.
Sense?
Yeah. Okay. Well, I find it really interesting that, and this is like the way it is pretty much across the board. So whether this is Hollywood, Oklahoma City, it doesn't matter. The artistic community It's always seems to me that the best artists are pushing back against something in their lives.
Yeah.
And interestingly, and again, this is not a slam on you or anything else. Interestingly, it tends to be what outsiders would perceive as something good.
Right.
So like you're like, I grew up in a Christian home, and you're like, oh, screw that, I don't want a part of that, right? And here it is underneath all of the religion. It's actually a really good thing underneath all the bullcrap that men have done with it. Do you know what I'm saying?
Right, sure.
And I find it so curious that is the human condition, that we always push back against the things that are lovely or potentially lovely, or, like, you have a business partner who's got this great idea and you're like, I don't know. And you're like, shouldn't we just agree that it's a nice thing?
Well, so, it's funny because I'm probably more spiritual now than ever, and then probably more spiritual than anyone in my Christian family. Like,
right? Then there's that too. The hypocrisy,
Yeah, but
wow. Well, so I like to ask this question because it's a fun one. So I'm much older than you, and I'm very much into deathcore. I mean, I'm into, like, the older I get, the more ferocious I get. Right? Music taste. And yet, I grew up on and continue to listen to bands like ABBA, Captain and Tennille, a lot of like
stuff.
70s pop, not even power pop, just super
great pop.
Maudlin, gauzy, you know what I mean? Like the music is so gauzy that you can't see through the air when it's being played, you know what I mean?
It's like the softest ever.
So what would be a surprising band, not necessarily an influence, but something you just were really touched or moved by?
Oh man, like that's like unexpected, I guess.
Yeah, and maybe has a weird sort of influence. And like when you sit down and write songs, you're like, I wonder what Richard Carpenter would have done here.
I mean, this one's probably pretty obvious and straightforward for most anyone into alternative music, but the Ramones, of course.
Oh yeah,
just like just like the sheer aggression of the playing in the Ramones is what got me started. But that one's pretty obvious, really. Man, I'm trying to think. I love a ton of surf rock. Surf rock is like one of my like I don't want to call it a guilty pleasure, but it's one of the only things I collect on vinyl.
Wow.
It's one of the only things I like really seek out rare stuff from and like learn more about. It's one of the things I like research in guitar technique and guitar scales the most. That's kind of a weird, unexpected one, though. That's still really guitar heavy. Surf rock for sure. I like a lot of like bossa nova stuff, I guess. Some of that stuff rhythmically like influences me, I would say. Yeah, I would say that like the rhythm and percussion in a lot of Latin music is maybe something that creeps in sometimes into my writing. I want it to, But there's a lot of awesome like Latin electronic music kind of going around. Like, have you ever heard of Bone before from LA?
I think. But if I haven't listened to it. If that makes sense.
But Bone is a really cool, like, I mean, they're Latin, but like very Latin inspired musically. Another band from Canada called Pelada is very much along that. But yeah, I would say stuff like a lot of like Latin or bossa nova and surf rock are probably unexpected things that I hope creep into my work.
Yeah, no, that's so cool. So talking about surf rock then real quick, are you a fan of Dwayne Eddy? Is that a artist you like? Or
I'm not super familiar with all of his stuff, but I've seen the name come on because I buy the compilations quite a bit.
Right.
Yeah. But yeah, just like, I mean, like Ventures, Belltones, Digital, like all that obvious stuff. Yeah, there's just like a lot of really good like 50s and 60s compilations and singles that I like a lot. Just and a lot of those bands were just like they'd record 2 songs, call it a band, like one of my favorite bands is the Stormtroopers. I think they have like 5 songs, they have 2 singles, So it's like,
and they were 2 minutes long on top.
Yeah, exactly. And then those 2 guys from that band were like also in the Belltones, and then that other guy was like started the Ventures, and then they like got back together and then did a full album in the 80s. It's like doo-wop and stuff.
Right. And they were like the fourth opening bill on an Elvis show once in 1972.
Yeah, exactly.
So cool.
But yeah, I mean, it's honestly, Stir Frog's like, it's hard to keep up with like the favorites in that, because it's more like songs, like
Sure. Sure. I understand. Well, so look, you're here to talk about Body Prophecy.
Yeah.
Which, I've heard. It came out a few weeks ago now, I think.
Yeah, I think about 3 weeks. It came out on the 29th of July.
Okay. Yeah. Okay. So if there's a standout, not necessarily a moment, but a theme, the musical approach or the lyrical content, what is it? I guess what are you trying to say with this record?
Man, so it's funny because it's like I was writing that stuff. I mean, I recorded it 2 years ago, and it was written for the year and a half before that. So it's funny because I've been thinking about that lately when doing interviews and stuff. I kind of have to go back. Honestly, a lot of it is about kind of overcoming my like bodily anxiety.
Wow.
Like overcoming like a lot of leftover like PTSD and trauma and just fear like that was stuck in my body after I was like sick a few years ago, and kind of dealing with like, even though I had been like healed from being sick and like my body was okay, there was like so much left inside of my body and in my mind that was like triggering PTSD, kind of that sort of thing. So a lot of it was figuring out how to overcome that stuff in my mind, and figuring out how to not have panic attacks when I digest food, how to not shake when I was in public, and that sort of a thing. So
right.
A lot of it was that. Yeah, I had like a really bad case of salmonella, is how it started. It actually was called Shigella, which is like a stronger, I don't know, like form of basically salmonella. I had lost 45 pounds. Well, basically I had a seizure when I was in college.
Good Lord.
And like I'd lost 45 pounds. I was in and out of the hospital for about like a month and a half. And so much like anxiety, panic attacks, trauma, like starts in your stomach, and is like, that's why, your stomach is so connected to your brain. So anytime you're nervous, your stomach's in knots, kind of a thing. So right. For about 2 years after I had gotten over it, every time I would digest food, I would have a panic attack, and obviously I had to eat, right? Like, right. So I would just every single day having panic attacks 2 or 3 times a day. And kind of to cope with like that, I wasn't even on like anti-anxieties or anything like that. To cope with that, I would like, I would still try to go out and like get drunk with my friends or whatever, which was just like the worst thing you could do. Right. Stomach, but it would get rid of the anxiety of that, Yeah. Or get rid of just anxiety in general when I was drunk, and then I'd have a hangover and it would be like twice as worse.
New set of problems.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And so, basically I was just kind of having to figure out ways to live normally by digesting food, playing shows, going back out with friends, that sort of thing. And kind of retraining my brain how to not have panic attacks. But, once you have like a panic attack and once you have anxiety, it like cements itself into your mind as like your body thinks it's normal now to do that. And it's like reacting to what it's used to. And so, yeah, the album is basically different ways of getting out of that anxiety-ridden panic attack mindset. And then, also just ways that like affected my life, I think, in personal relationships, friendships, kind of feeling like for a few years I was just constantly in a state of fear because of that stuff. How it affected just decision making, for better, for worse, mostly for worse, and kind of becoming a better, like figuring out how to get over it, but how to use that to be a better person, I think,
Right.
Because it was, when you're dealing with that stuff and you feel like shit, you can kind of use it as a crutch to act like shit.
Right. I mean, we've all sort of, I think, at some moment or another, I mean, and I'm, like I said, I'm a lot older than you, and I I don't know if we ever really learn as much as we make it through things.
Yeah.
You know, but I mean, maybe I missed this, but what was the moment? Like, how did you realize I've got to disable this mental versus body, experience?
Yeah.
Was it the catharsis of writing the record, or was it something else?
It honestly, I mean, I'm trying to think. I mean, it was
free your mind and the rest will follow.
Yeah. I mean, honestly though, I just knew I couldn't do the things that I love to do without making it like, without getting over it, like I knew I had to leave my room. I knew I had to have a job. I knew I needed to like date someone. I knew I needed to play music most of all, because that's what made me feel good. But, I was like, and I'd never had panic attacks or anxiety before going on stage. I was never nervous, but like, I wasn't even nervous about that. But, I would literally be like close to throwing up because I felt so sick, even though I was fine. It was just my mind going off and like, I will get on stage. I'm going to do this stuff. And this was really even a couple years before Black Magnet. But I think like just forcing myself to do things that I didn't feel like doing, but I knew would be good for me. And that helped me just overcome anxiety, just like putting myself out there, and like kind of like how you do when you're a kid with sports or whatever. You just like, you have to do it to you kind of make it a thing again. So it was just retraining myself on how to do life. Yeah. Was that the answer? Was that a good answer to the question? I'm not sure.
Dude, I'll tell you what, you're speaking to me. Okay. Cool. And what I mean by that is I feel like I need to hear that too.
Yeah.
Really. Well, I just don't think that anybody is like, there's nobody, I don't care what you see on television. I don't care who's famous or who's a billionaire. There's nobody that has it all figured out. Yeah. And we all have anxieties, not necessarily, extreme responses to it, but we all have anxieties over certain things. Something that reminds us of a bad moment in our childhood, right. Something that reminds us of a bad moment in our marriage, something about how we feel physically, which triggers a series, right? I mean, like the things you mentioned. Yeah. And yeah, I mean, I think that's a perfect answer. I don't know, like I said, one person that doesn't struggle with how their mind sort of screws them into a corner sometimes. And I think it's really, really, really easy to stay down.
Yeah. And I don't know, for some people, I think it's like comfortable for them to be down all the time. I mean, you come across people in life like that all the time. I mean, honestly, I think a lot of it was like learning mental tools of getting over that kind of had a trickle effect into like propelling my life into like a really good way. Like, I don't know. I don't even know if I would be as motivated to do the shit that I do now if I wouldn't have had to be forced to do all the stuff that I had to do to get back to normal life after going through that. It was like there was like a new kind of strength built up. And so I felt like, that's really a lot of the album is like figuring out ways to have a new strength inside myself, I guess, to get over all of that shit. So
well, I read a quote by you. I'm not going to quote the whole thing, but basically you said I need to have a purpose. I need to be over, that's the direction I want to go.
Yeah.
And so I'm going to do that, and I'm going to allow that desire to go in that direction to penetrate me and force me to step forward that direction, I mean,
absolutely. And this really ties into more what I was talking about. Is like, I mean, at the time I was getting really into like new thought, mind power metaphysics, meditation, kind of some like neurolinguistic programming stuff, just general self-help stuff.
I like NLP.
Yeah. But there's so much like bullshit, like in so much self-help stuff, so really kind of finding some key moments, key points, authors, figures in that stuff. I was getting really into Bruce Lee, his writing. I was getting really into like Neville Goddard. I was getting, there's a new author named Mitch Horowitz that he's like kind of a cult historian, like comparative religion philosopher, author. But he also dives into like self-help stuff and kind of ties all that together. So through him, I got introduced to, people like Neville Goddard, just different stuff like that. And I just started figuring out that I had to be honest with myself about having like a chief aim and like a definite purpose that was only for me, solely to me. And it started having like a snowball effect where whenever I was putting that at the top of my priority list, while still having to do normal life stuff, that it just had like an extra power that it was giving me day to day to stay motivated on my shit and stay motivated to, when I'm tired, practice guitar, write Black Magnet shit, learn a new thing on synthesizer, and it started allowing me to get creative with like the ways that I was, not just with songwriting or stuff like that, but like approaches, and just like getting creative with like, if I'm frustrated today with writing something, how can I, make myself how can I like unfuck myself from being frustrated?
I want to write a book about this. Yeah. I love what you're saying. Yeah.
And so, I mean, and a lot of that, like, even led to like songwriting. Like, I would just get frustrated playing guitar, being in the computer, playing with a synth, and take a microphone outside and break a piece of glass on my driveway and then scream while I did that and sample that and see what it sounded like. Even if it didn't wind up on the album, it broke me into a new mold, and I started discovering new stuff like that. So a lot of that new thought philosophy stuff just helped me think outside the box, I guess. But going back to like having a purpose and chief aim, that was definitely something that helped propel me into working harder at it. I'm really into like affirmations. And they kind of rotate, but I have 10 affirmations I read out loud. I write them down every day, read them out loud to myself twice a day. I try and meditate at least 15 minutes a day. Tons of stuff like that. I don't know. It's funny because all of this stuff seems like, a lot of the stuff in New Thought and self-help and mind power metaphysics seems so like obvious, and a lot of it is, but once you kind of start stacking the techniques on top of each other and seeing them all together, there's so much shit that you realize that you're not doing or thinking about at the forefront of your mind all the time.
Yeah.
Or like in a row. And once all of that stuff is kind of Legoed on top of each other, it becomes more strong. It becomes stronger. And it starts to, I think, kind of have like an extra metaphysical power into your subconscious, because that's really where things come from. And so if you can build a strong subconscious, it kind of has a trickle effect on everything else you do. So
yeah.
Does that kind of answer that one?
Well, I mean, it's your answer, but yeah, cool, I love it, James. It's interesting too, because, over the past couple of years, I'll tell you just a short little story, but I went through a big bout of depression myself. It's something I'd never experienced in my life. I used to kind of almost mock people for like, oh, come on, life isn't that hard. Shut up. Quit being so weak, wipe up. Stand up and wipe the dirt off and get going,
That's exactly how I was with anxiety towards other people.
Yeah.
Asshole about it.
Right. And you have to experience it. So you realize, oh, I have to give honor to these people. They're just caught in this really bad loop,
Yeah.
But it's so interesting. You talk about affirmations, and I was thinking like, and this isn't advice, okay? But I was thinking like, just besides repeating mantras or affirmations to yourself over the course of the day, what about telling yourself twice a day? Because I need to do this myself. Is just go love on somebody. Go pick somebody.
Oh, for sure.
Go pick somebody like at a coffee shop and just walk up and say, "Hi, Dave. So great to see you today, man. I just wanted you to know, man, I love coming in this." You know what I mean? Because people, they receive that, they light up, it changes their day, which in turn changes your day.
Absolutely.
Because I really do believe our purpose, over the years I've had to develop this, but our purpose is people, right? Like my purpose interviewing you today is to spread the wealth of what James Hammontree is doing with Black Magnet, so other people can discover it and fall in love with it like I have. And in so doing, what happens is your life is improved because your fan base has grown. Their lives are improved because they've heard something that you've created for them, which is totally rad. And what I love about music, and the echoes of those sort of love circles are everything that takes us out of the hole. So, you know, I admire you because you have the ability to get up and get out and to make yourself doing it. But most people, it seems, don't have that ability. So they need to hear something that drives them to do it. So I appreciate what you're doing.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, you know, it's funny because, you know, you can say, I mean, even something that's so simple as like saying, I'm going to go look out a window at the same time every day for 3 months. Will you actually do that? Will you do that for a week? Will you know? And that's not even like working out. That's not meditation. That's not reading. That's anything. But like the consistency of doing something different builds something new in your mind, you know, and something that's simple. And people say, oh yeah, like that's easy to do. That's whatever. But like, will you really do that? You know, like is that something like, is that something that you will actually do every single day? And you might be surprised by how much it changes, you know, different things in your life just because you did something that different. And I think like what you were saying, like, yeah, I mean, like giving empathy to other people in that way is totally vital, especially in art and music. And, you know, I mean, you know, music and art in general is pretty cutthroat. And I understand it because there's like a lot of bullshit in it too. But at the end of the day, it's like, people make things their problem that isn't really their problem, you know, so why focus on that all the time? And why not spread more love and gratitude towards other people, even, you know, even if it's not in your lane? I mean, so
no, it's awesome, man. I love your detailed thoughts. I mean, this is great. We're really getting an eye into the mind of you, and that's what I'm seeking. You know, that's what my listeners are seeking, because you've taught me so much today, James. You've taught me, no, for real. I mean, I've learned about you, which is great, but the byproduct of having these frank conversations and going into the depth and sort of cheesily the soul of a creator is that we're reminded that, oh yeah, there's something special about all of us, right? And your motivations and your drive to overcome are so significant that you're creating works that are now, again, echoing out around you into space.
Yeah.
And if we all did that, if we all, like you said a second ago, unfucked ourselves. If we all did that, can you imagine how different the world would be and how few people would be yelling at each other on Twitter because they disagree politically?
Right. Well, yeah. God, I can't even with Twitter.
I know. No, I get it, but you see what I'm saying, you know.
Well, and I think a lot of people are, you know, scared to like ruin some like artistic mystique, or like give away like their like motivations or tools, because it's, you know, it's vulnerable and whatever. And you maybe risk sounding cheesy or generic or whatever, like Tony Robbins or like whatever. But like, I don't give a shit. Like, it's the only way I can keep making the shit that I like to make at the level at which I think it deserves to be made. And 90% of people who talk shit on that mentality aren't doing anything. You know what I mean?
Right.
And I mean, like, I don't know if you've listened to any interviews with like Jamie Morgan from Code Orange, but he's like a huge inspiration to me about just the way he approaches music and motivates himself and motivates his band. And him more than anyone is so honest about like, I mean, just like working hard, positive thinking. It's obvious what his chief aim is, and he's not afraid to say that and afraid to use his motivations and be open about it. So yeah. Well,
I mean, I again, another one of those things I've heard of, but not necessarily know. Code Orange, right?
Dude, you got to check it out. They're the shit.
I got to check it out. No, I love that. What did you say? I wanted to run with it for a second, but yeah, I guess it's just the bottom line is truth. And I'm not saying your truth. Like there's this silly thing in the industry that says, well, I'm just speaking my truth. No, no, you're speaking the truth.
Yeah. Yeah.
The truth. Because there is truth and then there's not, right? You don't tell me, like grass is blue. It's not. It's green.
Right. Yeah.
That's the truth. It's not your truth. It's the truth. But the thing is, this is so true, James, is that when somebody like yourself just says, I'm going to step off this cliff and I'm going to create this type of music. These are my influences and this is the direction I'm going. People automatically recognize it as truth, not your truth, because they know you believe in it. They can feel in it. So therefore it's honest and primal and pure. And then they either like it or they don't. And if they like it, then they're a fan for life. And if they don't like it, they move on, which is just fine.
Well, I'm more scared not to do stuff like that. To me is like the most scary thing in life is like, if I didn't have this to do, like, I don't know, I'd have to find, I don't know what I would do, I guess, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
To me, it's more scary to not have a chief aim and like a definite purpose and a goal. And the thing is like, I'm not like LeBron James. not everyone has to be LeBron James, like not everyone has to be Trent Reznor or like whatever. I just think that, people see celebrities or superstars and think like, oh, well, like I'm not going to be that. So they just kind of slack on like whatever shit that they're doing that, and not like at their jobs or their relationships, but like what's inside and like what they like really, really, really want. And if you can't recognize that, and if you can't like go for it in, a reasonable way within your life, an achievable way, it's just sad, it's just like, well, like, why not? And, I'm more privileged than like someone that lives in Kenya or whatever. So like, I understand that, not everyone has the exact ability or whatever, but I don't know. I guess I believe everyone in some way can find a chief aim that they can make themselves fulfilled in, even if it's not, their day job, whatever. So
yeah. And I would say this, that regardless of somebody's faith bent or feelings of a God versus just evolution. How dare any of us who believe anything? How dare any of us not go after the purpose, that has been injected in our heart?
Yeah.
Because so I'm not going to get religious on you. I do believe in God, right? So I do believe in the creator, right? Sure. And so my brain says, well, okay, so if God made me this way, warts and all, right? But he made me passionate about people. He downloaded the ability to play drums into me. Yeah. I have my crazy weird proclivities, and then I have all my passions over here. But how dare I not pursue that skill that he gave me? Because that's literally like going like that to like the creator of the universe. Why would I do that? Yeah. And so regardless, again, I love what you're doing, James, because you've taken something, you've upset that weird balance of, I don't know, almost attack. Like we attack ourselves, like in our own brains, we attack ourselves. We don't allow ourselves the opportunity to be who we are. And I know I keep hitting on this, but I'm so grateful that you just said, you know what? No, I'm going in that direction. And the only thing that's going to stop me is me, and I'm not stopping me.
Yeah. And like,
so good.
Yeah.
So good. You got to write a book, dude.
Dude, honestly, like if I had more time to read, I would, I'd probably have a lot more material. But I would like to write. I'm thinking about releasing like after the next album, I'll probably have enough material, but releasing like a Black Magnet lyric book with just like some other writing stuff in it too.
Yeah.
So that might be something that could be cool, maybe.
Yeah. Well, I'd love to check it out. Yeah, no doubt. Look, Bottom Prophecy's out. I would tell everybody to buy it. Also, the band is performing like really soon in Oklahoma City, and then in Tulsa.
Yeah, we're playing in Tulsa next Wednesday, and then Oklahoma City October 27th. Yeah, and then probably a tour in March, like a 3.5 week U.S. tour in March.
Gotcha.
So, yeah. Where are you based out of?
I'm in the Seattle area, so I'm east of the city, about 30 miles. I'm out in the mountains.
Cool.
So if I'm not connected to the internet, I like have no signal up in the air. It's kind of weird. You know. Is there any last words, any last things you want to share? You know, I'd love to know, like, what's the, you know, I mean, you've kind of given us everything, but like, is there a secret thing that's coming up with Black Magnet or with you that you'd like to tell us about?
I mean, we have like 14 new songs right now that we've like demoed over the past year and a half.
As a trio.
As a trio. So, I mean, we have like home demos done for all of those. We're probably going to go back in the studio and like officially record them in January. So cool. And I don't even know like when that'll come out, but like,
I'll be there.
Then we're going to do like we haven't announced it, but I can probably announce it. We're doing like a 3.5 week US tour with King Yosef from Portland, which is another cool kind of industrial. It kind of does some like trap metal sort of stuff. It has like some rap influence to it, but it's very industrial. He just did a collaboration album with Youth Code from LA, who's another cool, awesome industrial band. They've been around for 10 years. That probably more music videos. We're making like, I think we're going to do like a kind of weird secret tour only VHS tape sort of thing that has maybe some new demos on it with like sort of music videos and visuals that are only going to be on the VHS tape, probably limited to like 50 or something. Might come with a cassette tape with like a secret QR code to a new website. I don't know. We'll see. That's the idea right now. So I want to make more like interactive stuff. I mean, this is a band, this is music first and foremost, but I want to make it like multi-dimensional, not just visually, but like different ways of listening to it, different ways of experiencing it, without taking too much of the focus off of like the main ideas. So yeah, we'll see.
Yeah, man, I can't wait.
I would have all this shit done fucking 2 years ago.
Yeah, well, life intrudes, but I can't wait to see the next thing. You know what I mean? And what you've been telling me sounds great. And I love the idea of 2 other people coming in and really sort of bolstering the better parts of your musical strengths, right? And then bringing new ideas and really turning this on for you, because I think what you're doing is different and very cool.
And they're fucking awesome too. Like, it's like stuff I could have never done on my own and thought of, especially like electronically and just like soundscape wise. It's like way more dimensional now. So yeah, but thank you, Rob. Thanks for the interview.